My name's Jay Lewis, and I've got the pleasure of talking today about directing Always Patsy Cline. I had the extreme pleasure of being able to do this on two different occasions. Very unique show where there were only two characters in the play. Of course, the actress who plays Patsy Cline, and then the storyline revolves around the letters that were written from one of Patsy's fans, Louise Seger, which was played by a second actress. And we had, the first time we did the show in July of 2017, Susan Metzger played the part of Patsy. She had done the role before. I had had the pleasure of being in a couple of shows with her beforehand. And then the role of Louise Seger, I had a lot of confidence in a very fine actress here in town who I had known for many, many years, just happened to be my wife. And she did an incredible job. The part of Louise doesn't sing, but the lines that she has, she basically carries the show in her narration, and Patsy Cline does the singing. We did the 2017 show at the Main Street location, much smaller venue. We had a live band, the Bodacious Bobcats, and music directed by Cherry Mega. Then 2 years later, we had the chance to restage the show in the Dudley Theater, and that was in 2019. This time playing Patsy Cline was Caitlin LeBeau, another fine actress who I'd also previously been able to direct in other shows and also act in some shows with also. And so we restaged Always Patsy Cline in Dudley, and once again with Shawna playing Louise. The show showcases so many of Patsy's songs, but I think the real thrill of the show comes from the desire of being a fan and becoming close to the person the fan worship is all about. And I think it evolves into a relationship where they had mutual respect for each other, and it's kind of a relationship that I think each one of us as a fan of someone famous or someone well known would imagine that this relationship might be like. And the show goes through their first meeting and how they interacted the first evening that they were together, and then as the years progress, the letters that they exchange and the in-depth conversations they have regarding their backgrounds and their loves. I think Shauna's got a few notes. A lot of things happen. The music, of course, is great, but there are some things that happen during the show and some neat stories that happen that I think she would like to share with us also.
Hello, yes.
Hi, Shawna.
I'm sitting right here just listening to you. Oh, well, you know, if you try to think of director's notes for this show, the people that saw the show saw it and loved it and enjoyed it and felt like they were a part of Louise's memories when she thinks back to the late 50s and the early 60s.
That was one of the key things I wanted to do, is bring the audience involved. I don't think anybody sitting on the first couple of rows had a very good chance of being part of the show, either just being talked to or folding laundry or being asked to dance, yes, or all sorts of things. And I think that brought a lot of the charm of the show into it, was involving the audience.
Jay described it to me as a Houston housewife in the late 50s and 60s who really loves Patsy Cline, and she's the biggest fan, and ends up meeting her and bringing her home. And I said, oh my gosh, well, that sounds just like something my mother would do. So I modeled Louise.
Boy, did she.
After my mother. And anybody who sees the show tells me that it's a whole lot like my mom. And I was talking to my mom. I was telling Mom the other day in the car, Jay, that I said, I modeled Louise after you, Mom. You and Aunt Betty and Aunt Pat and Aunt Nancy. Something else, you mentioned how many lines there were. I started, and I can remember, Plaza plans its seasons a year in advance, and when Patsy Cline came on their schedule in January, now I wasn't told I had the part. I thought I was going to audition, but I started learning the lines in January for the performance in July.
Late June.
And I know but there were like 26 monologues. 26 monologues. And I even timed it. I even timed the length of time that Caitlin or Susan would sing, the Patsy character sings, and I spoke for about 33 minutes. I just timed it. And to speak straight for 33 minutes that's a lot of words, really. But this is between Caitlin and Susan. How many songs did they sing?
They had 26 songs.
26. Yep. It's like 26 solos in a show.
Mention some of the songs.
You've got to have a powerful set of lungs.
Oh, absolutely.
To be able to do it.
And the songs that she brings in, Walking After Midnight, San Antonio Rose, you get Stupid Cupid, Your Cheating Heart, Crazy, which brings down the house.
I'll brag on Jay right now, and the turntable at Dudley Hall. You almost think that if it's theater in the round, and if all the seats are all the way around, how much of a set can they do? But if you're creative, like the team at Plaza is, and like my husband is, you can use that turntable to make different people move about the different rooms of a house. Patsy starts singing that song. She's getting ready for bed in David's room, because that's one of Louise's lines, and she's singing the sweetest lullaby to her little boy. But she's sitting in the rocking chair on one side of the turntable, and then as she's singing, the turntable is very slowly turning, and she ends up with the song back over to where I'm sitting in the kitchen, and she gets up and she tells me goodnight. And it's almost like she's walked from David's room, either upstairs or down the hall or whatever, back into the kitchen to tell me goodnight after she's sung the lullaby. And I sat there every evening thinking, oh wow, this is so cool to watch her in her rocking chair just turn around the stage. But then you also had it to where the jukebox was on one side.
It was in one of the bombs.
It was in one of the bombs, and the Esquire table was in another one. And at one point, the whole turntable turned, and I ended up by the jukebox, and Caitlin was over on the other side, and we crossed it. I don't know. It was just, we crossed and met. But the turntable was a very interesting thing that was used. We didn't use it a lot. It wasn't, we've been in other shows where they've used the turntable more. But I thoroughly enjoyed having it.
Speaking of set, we had an interesting kitchen set in both locations. Mm-hmm. And what people who saw the show may not have realized.
This is the director's notes.
There were some interesting items on the set that were our own personal property type things, but it was just reminders of our grandparents and things like that from the 50s. Cookbooks.
Well, I put Helen Corbett's cookbook. I had it on stage every night up in the kitchen because my mother, we were a big fan of the Hedges at Neiman Marcus, and that's where Helen Corbett was the cook. And then we used your mom's kitchen table, Jay. That little red and white table, that was from your mom's house. It was the metal table, just like she had in her kitchen in the 50s, and little red and white chairs that matched them. And then Sonny Barris decorated the little kitchens perfectly. I wanted to make sure everybody knew that, and this is something the audience would not know, but before the show, Stormy was our stage manager, and she's an excellent stage manager, but Stormy and I would be watching the monitors, and we would be casting members from the audience. As the audience files into the theater, they have no idea that they are being watched very closely by Stormy and I, trying to figure out who would be the best for the different parts, because we had Hal, the disc jockey,
the radio manager,
and the bar manager, the disc jockey,
the dancer.
I had to have somebody to dance with, and Stormy and I were constantly scoping out men with good knees. And I even wanted to find a lady with a poofy hairdo so I could say the line, we all can't be hairdressers. Oh, and then, I was constantly amazed at how many people wanted to hug me after the show was over.
Well, it's that idea of being the fan, that you are doing something that everybody dreams or fantasizes about, becoming very close to that person that you idolize.
Yeah, when you open up and you just share so much of your feelings, and Louise just lets it all out about how much fun she had with Patsy Cline and how much she loved her, and how they continued their friendship even after the night she spent the night at her house. Yeah. Oh, and what you were saying about Louise and Patsy, they both loved to drink Schlitz beer, and both loved to go out and party and visit and talk, and a lot of people really enjoy that. So it's a wonderful show to be a part of, and I loved every minute of it, and I'm anxious to do it again.
The show just combines humor. It's got some sadness and reality all involved, and it's just a great chance to remember Patsy Cline, those Patsy Cline fans, about how she looked, how she lived, and some of the stories that she actually lived through. I'm anxious to see this on the stage again, and hope I have the opportunity to direct two fabulous actresses and a fantastic band out there. That's truly what makes this show a success.
And even though the audience is a lot of people that are in their 50s, 60s, and 70s and 80s that loved Patsy Cline, there would always be some in the audience who had no idea. They didn't know Patsy Cline. They didn't know a Patsy Cline song, and they didn't know anything about her. And when it came to the part in the show where Louise finds out that Patsy has passed away, you could hear the ones who had no idea go, which was always really sad. And it is very, very, very sad at one point. But it's still a funny, happy show, but everybody, it's kind of like watching the Titanic. You kind of know the ending if you know the story.